personal journey and learnings about using Obsidian for a second brain. I'm not a coder. I play one on TV, I guess, but I've been using Claude Code for quite a while now. And so what I'm going to do is start my presentation. If you have any questions along the way, please absolutely um, put it in the chat. Can you see the slides? There you go. My video is funky now. Look at that. Anyway, okay, let's get started. Thank you for joining. This is part of AI, Humans and AI Week. And we're going to step through what I've done in terms of building a second brain. It isn't about note-taking, to be honest with you. Obsidian as an app is a note-taker, as a standalone app. But this process was more about starting with my journals and my accumulated digital files. And that included family records, drafts, things AI wrote for me, and also part of my digital archiving from over 20 years of creating digital files. So for example, when I was moving from Toronto to Florida, I ended up looking at all my digital archives, many of them, lots of them, of course, that had built up over the years, including full-on curriculum files that I had saved along the way, including working files and course curriculum and module drafts. So I had many backups and many files. Oops, sorry. So I did a digital archiving. So who am I? I've got 20 years in marketing and agencies, marketing agencies. I was the head of digital marketing at Saatchi & Saatchi. I worked at Nortel. I worked at Cineplex. And most recently, I'm the co-lead at the new AI Collective Space Coast chapter. So the vault I'm going to show you in the way is my literal letters, recipes, journals, and all my work archived. And that's what triggered me to start this process of building a second brain. You know, this isn't a new idea per se. For centuries, people would keep notebooks and copying what mattered in their library or their rooms. People kept personal archives and journals. I've kept a journal for over 10 years. The software is new. The impulse to do this is not. So the second brain, in terms of a concept, started with a book written by Tiago Forte. He wrote a book, Building a Second Brain, published in 2022. And he came up with the framework of code: capture, organize, distill, and express. He also developed a concept called para, which I've used in this: projects, areas, resources, and archives. So he really brought this to life, but you may have heard of a man named Andrew Karpathy. He used to be at OpenAI, and now he's at Anthropic, actually. He posted in February a GitHub about building a contextual awareness level. So that's exactly what I did with all my digital files. I exported my journal, and that came out to about 2,000 markdown files. Little did I know that keeping my journal in Ulysses was going to give me this resource, because Ulysses is a writing application. And the reason I started to use Ulysses, to be honest with you, is because I hated Word so much. I've lived in Microsoft Word for so long. Simply editing courses and writing like every other person in corporate America. So I started to use a writing app called Ulysses, and I really love it. It's an Apple-based product, but it allows you to write freeform in Markdown files and then export them to various formats. So the click for me was literally that. This concept of a second brain, I realized with my journal entries, I had the bones of starting and capability of doing this for myself as a personal project, but it's turned into something much more than that. So I worked with Claude Code to set this up from the start as an internal project. I explained to Claude Code, once again, I'm not a programmer per se, but I definitely use Claude Code to approach this project, and decided and had Claude Code look at my archives, look at what I had in my digital archives, how it was structured. And Claude Code is so powerful. It was able to scan thousands and thousands of files with very little challenge, to be honest with you. What what is in what is in and what is not in my Obsidian vault and second brain? What is useful and shareable, that's the actual working layer. With private information, and privacy is a super powerful concept and awareness here. The vault in Obsidian holds all these files, but you don't want to load it with personally identified information. And Claude Code actually helped me with that. It refused to put in my driver's license, for example, because it parsed that as personally identifiable information. So anyway, as pieces went in, certain things were kept out. But other things, very personal, private things, did get in. So this is applicable to any financial or corporate use as well. You would never use personal consumer data with a system like this. Okay, let's talk about the layers and the way the actual brain works. To capture these data, there's many. Obsidian is a note taker, so it can take almost anything. I use Ulysses, but there's Apple Notes, Voice, and Paper. I was really impressed with the ability to just simply scan and import into the brain. Using Claude Code took raw scans, and then it ran OCR on them, and then decided what to do with them. And I did page after page after page. Going through my paper files, I found faxes from the 90s from my family before the internet per se, and before even phones, digital smartphones. These faxes were the way we communicated from Hawaii to New Jersey, and they contained all this internal family dialogue that was fascinating to see after all these years. Those were scanned, and then Claude ran OCR on them, extracted the text, but also then in the Obsidian layer, Claude Code realized that we were using nicknames in our family, and it translated the nicknames so that we removed ambiguity. So the layers here are capture, knowledge, and AI. The AI actually does the thinking and the writing here, not me. So I'll show you that when we get to the actual brain. So why I can show you mine, this is my real working vault. And it's got a lot of personal information, but also Claude Code actually built me a demo to step you through. So we'll show you that in a bit. Nothing's been cleaned up to look pretty. It is not nasty, but there's raw faxes in here, raw attachments, raw scans. So I'm not going to show you all of it. Obviously, there's thousands and thousands of entries, but what I show you will give you an example of what's possible with working with Claude Code and Obsidian. Okay, so let's take a look at some files up here. I'm going to show you some screenshots before we actually go into the actual Obsidian demo. But here I've got a couple screenshots lined up to take a look at. So it really just looks like any kind of word processor or note taker in many ways. It's a pretty dense UI. Along the left is a ribbon, and then there's a file listing on the next panel. And these are the actual file listings I'll show you in a second. It may look strangely random, but I have cooking open just for an example. And then you can see the way my brain is set up, and I'll step you through them in the demo. But one thing you should make sure to understand is those purple links are with links within the brain and the structural integrity of the brain. If you look on the left-hand side, you'll see AIC at the top. That's an area for obviously that I'm working on. But I'll show you in the demo, but you can see how the structure is rooted. It's not literally a linear capture of all the entries. It's organized by structure and how they relate to each other. And you'll see why in a second. Okay. I'm going to show you this document when we get to the actual live demo. But there's a couple things that you should look at here. This is in the middle, this is an entry panel. You can edit any of these files, but you might see those purple links. Those are pointing to other entries and other nodes within the brain. So along the right-hand side panel are the links inside this long document. Now take a look at the bottom of the right-hand side. You can see now this document was not written by me. This document was written by Claude Code and Obsidian after analyzing the entries. It's an ongoing iterative process. The brain is making itself smarter and smarter as we go. Here we go. I'll click forward. And I just wanted to show you this before we actually get to the demo. The Obsidian is intensely customizable, and so many people have used it. If you look at the upper left, there's 4,300 plugins. So, and none of them are important. And one thing you should know is you don't need endless customization to get started with this. The reason there's so many plugins is because it is so extensible and customizable, and many people use this for much more technical work than me. Okay, but one thing I wanted to show you here too before we move on is the templater. If you look at the second one from the top, when you bring in entries, working with the second brain and Obsidian, the AI will set up a template so that you can bring in your notes or your files. For example, if you have a project that has a lot of customer forms, those can be turned into a template so you're not reinventing the wheel every time you wanted to bring in some data. Okay, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to open the vault now directly, and what I want to do is step you through it and play around with it a bit and show you what the brain actually looks like. But let's start here for a second. I'm going to show you some of the areas of the archive that are iterative. I'm going to show you how you can look at your own patterns called metacognition. It's one of the reasons I did this in the first place. I am going to show you some paper layer stuff and what that means and what Obsidian and Claude Code have built around it. Okay? All right. We're going to stop sharing here for a second. Okay. Can we see this? There we go. All right, this is Obsidian. Doesn't look like much, but here we are. So, and this, again, here we are in the live vault. Again, these purple links. I'll step you through the home because, again, this wasn't structured by me. This is the brain structuring itself. But as you can see right here, it's built a little demo up top. The way the journal was written, the journal entries were written, there's very simple. It's the date and the place that I wrote it. And that was, all over the world. But out of all the 2,000 entries, Obsidian and Claude Code started with organizing by place. And you'll see that by the way. Now, this is just specific to my brain. But what I want to do in this workshop is kind of show you the capabilities so you can understand and maybe look at your workflow, your professional life or your personal life, and see ways that you can take this thinking. Obsidian doesn't cost anything really. It's free software. So with a Claude Code or a Codex account, a paid account, you can create something like this for relatively low cost or little cost at all. I'm going to start with the tour in a second, but I'm going to scroll down here. Mocks are important. So in Obsidian and Claude Code, mocks stand for maps of content. So The brain, the second brain is not literally just a big filing cabinet. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to show areas of content that connect to other areas of content, and then let the AI layer connect and grow those connections. And you'll see that in a second. So out of all the projects and all the interest I had in discussing this with Claude Code, because a lot of this was done by interviews, this is not long prompting. This is me saying to Claude Code, how about this? Let's build that. I'm curious about that. And that's how these areas of content were developed. And as it gets more and more aware of the build of the brain, it literally gets more and more specific. So the mocks here are sorted by the AI, not by me. They're biographical, meaning, they're literally about me. This is my career. Metacognition is areas where I can see patterns of my own behavior and thinking, and the AI layer pulls that out. And then people and identity. These are all the people I know that have made it to the stub. It's called stub. And you can see over here that here are the people. I'll just pop them down. Oh, Abraham, you made the list at the top. This is not a casting call, but those are the people in here that have entries. Operational health, a lot of people are using AI for health reasons. I am no exception. I did an amazing little task a couple of weeks ago where I got a new contact lens prescription. I slapped the prescription on the scanner, and then I tasked Claude Code to go out and find me the cheapest online source for contact lenses. And it went to 10 retailers, found the best price, and even filled out the form for me. It was a struggle, but it did it. Okay, anyway, published. These are my published articles on Substack and Medium. I'll show you that in a second. And then this is the AIC network that I'm working with Abraham. That's the Space Coast chapter that we launched. And I want to show you something about that too. Some reference and cheat sheets on how to browse the journal and develop. And then live threads. I was a pastry chef and a chef. I'm starting to dig out my old recipes and kind of use them as well. Okay, so much for this. This is the home sheet. Let's go to the actual workshop tour. Okay, so this is Claude Code literally looking at my entire second brain and describing or building me a little demo for you. Again, I looked at it, but this is Claude Code pulling out what it thought I should show to you in terms of how to build the second brain yourself. So what it is, this is again, not me writing, a walk inside a real second brain. Everything here is live. And I'll show you the task for it too. So I'll just scroll quickly through this so you can see. That's the cover of the U of T website from a couple years ago. I'm going to show you some links, but I want to show you this and scroll a second. That's a graphic that was built for our launch event, again, using Claude Code, and that was done in 6 minutes and not by me. This is me from that event. This is a recipe of mine that was published in the New York Times Magazine many years ago. This is a signed menu by Julia Child from the night I served her dinner at my graduation from culinary school. And if you notice the notes too, this is Claude Code pulling out these notes. Okay. So let's step through some of these links and show you some at the back level. Back again to my career. God, this is too much of a biography, but again, 12,551 words. I haven't even read the whole thing, but it is in detail my entire professional life with everyone in purple is a mention. Places are mentioned here. I'm laughing because I haven't seen this in a million years. That's my Delphi.com email address. Again, a lot of this personal identifiable information that I wouldn't share anyway. But here's my time at Anderson Consulting, all summarized by the brain. So the brain is looking at, it's combining all it has from my archives, from its anecdotal information, and also any pictures we can find. That's a graphic from Interactive Television Project in New York from back in the day. So look at this, 12,000 words. Again, not written by me. This is just a distillation of my resumes, my LinkedIn posts, my personal experience, reference letters, my entire career, with people's actual links and addresses to go back for detail. So again, the power of having one place when your entire professional career distilled that way means, for example, and I've already proven this to myself, that Claude Code can generate a resume on demand, a bio on demand of incredible nuance and specificity in seconds, because it has all this context. And really, that's one of the limitations we have with AI right now. And many of you are running into this on a daily basis if you're not using more powerful systems or agentic systems, where you simply have to keep repeating the context to the model. In this world that I'm showing you now, the model is drowning in context. Okay. A letter of reference from Trump Castle, dated 1988. I'm 100 years old. Why is this relevant? Because it goes again, it pulls out notes. I had never remembered, but in the reference letter, I'm quoted as being a good teacher. And again, I back then I never thought I was a good teacher. Here I am at the U of T on their cover page. So it is a metacognition layer, and it's a fancy word, but it's a way to see in yourself capabilities you may not have examined before. Also, very specifically, I had an interview session with Claude Code last month, where I literally said that I gave the brain a purpose, and it might seem trivial, but I really don't think it is, because I've already run into situations where Claude Code or Codex, I've been using Codex more and more, the AI will actually reference this point. So again, if I'm trying to bring things into the second brain that the AI does not think is aligned with this purpose, and I mean, it'll do it, but it fights it along the way. And almost always I won't do it myself because the argument is strong not to do it and logical. So the reality of it is, what does this mean in practice? It's a thinking tool, not a memorial. Again, I didn't write that, but it's beautifully said. The test is, does this help future me understand myself or think better? So there you go. That's a distillation, really, of exactly the purpose of this, at least for me. But for business purposes or personal purposes or career growth, in your work, the ability to take structured context and build a system where the AI can improve and improve and improve the depth of knowledge and thinking is very, very powerful. Okay. Here's my map of curiosity. I don't even know why I had this. Okay. So again, I keep in my writing journal entries too. I'm always interested in how people, as an educator, what makes people curious. We live in a time where there's so much disconnection. So this MOC is a map of my curiosity, and here are all the mentions in the journals. Now, it might not seem important, but when you're able to, pull this together, when the AI can pull it together in a way that is instantly usable, you become you should be tempted to see what you can pull out of it. Once again, at the bottom here, you can see this is what's called cross-linking. So this is the wiki level where things are talking to each other. Let's actually go to places for a bit. And if I'm in Boston, for example, but I want to show you this capability. So this is a local graph. I'll show you the main image graph in a second. But if you can see, so this is Boston. This again is anything mentioning Boston or related to Boston. So Julia Child and the French chef. And there's the menu from the night. And then all the mentions of me or the reference to her in my life. But look at the details of it. Look at how in depth it is. And it also connects to other activities I'm doing, like bread baking. This is an article I wrote about sourdough. I was one of those people that made sourdough during the pandemic. Let's take a look at it. It's a Medium post, and I used AI to test the use of diastatic malt in my recipes. Here's the post itself and photos. But see how this is connected to both education, location, and metacognition. The journal itself still lives here, as you can see along the left-hand side. So the source journal entries remain, and I'll show you in the whole graph what that means in structure. But that's what started this process. And then once the AI had kind of parsed what was in the journals, and it took a while. The journals turned into like 1,900 entries, and they were little markdown files. But Claude Code parsed them all. It spun off 5 agents. Each of the agents read like a chunk, and then the agents put their results back together. And it did find some inconsistencies. I changed like the formatting of the date and time, and it threw off the AI for a second, but we figured it out. I think many people are not conversational enough with the models now. Treating it like an advanced Google search is not where we are now. It's 2026, and the models are super powerful. In Claude Code, I had relatively long interview sessions where inconsistencies and opportunities to build out the brain on multiple levels appeared. And then I went and did the work that I had to do to get those things lined up. So in general, though, the journal itself started the process. Here's the Space Coast chapter. So this is again me searching for launching the chapter here. And again, over here on the left on the local, you can see that how it's connected. This is a very, a small view of an area, but let's take a look at the full graph and play around with that too. That's the sexy part. It's not really that usable, but this is the full second brain. And the video that was playing when we started the webinar was the build, and I'll play it again. But and we can talk about we can have some Q&A over it. But let's spend some time here just for the interface so you can see what's going on. If you notice this large ring of dots, these are the actual individual journals that are not connected to any other aspect of the Obsidian second brain. And in Obsidian, they're called orphans. So as you can see here, as a toggle to turn them on and off. I don't know what's floating up here. I'll fix that later. But the orphans, as you can see, the orphans are still there. And it's not a game of trying to link like the orphans so they are not linked. And in my understanding of second brain structure, even in other platforms, and there are other platforms to do this, orphans still are there. Orphans are simply data or entries that are not connected to anything. That doesn't mean they're useless. That just means that they're not being used within the brain itself. So that's why there's a switch to turn it on and off. There are tags and attachments. I don't use tags. Other people who build these things do. It's not a one thing about, again, with Obsidian, it's very extensible. It can be what you want it to be, and with all those plugins and the customizations, that's exactly what it becomes. One size does not fit all, but that's why it is used, and that's why it's used in so many ways. It's similar in many ways to Notion. If you've ever heard of Notion, it's like a free-form database structure that has ties to AI capabilities. So if we turn the orphans off, let me see, let me find, here's my mom, for example, bless her heart. She's been dead for quite a while now, but if that's my mom. So as you can see, her name highlights. But as I pull her away from the second brain, from the gut, the connections, all those connections point to other things. So if you look on the colors on the right, people, places are partnered. Lighter pink is people I've been partnered with. Darker red are places, and the green are just people in general. But also there are clusters here. So here's an example. These are my published works on Substack and Medium, and those green dots are actual entries. So this is an actual Substack article with the illustrations linked there. So if you turn up, the clusters become apparent, and I'll turn on the animation in a minute. We can see it build and talk over it. But the way the brain works is it remembers how it was built, and the animation to show that was running when we started. We'll say it again. And this is the sexy aspect of brain. It's not necessarily that usable, but it is a powerful visual tool to see how the connections work. And Abraham and I were talking about this. It looks like a neural network, as it should. It is in many ways the way AI works with model behavior. It is based on neural networks. And so what you're building is a neural system where one node connects to another node. And in many ways, we do this on our own, just through our own memory. But the second brain capabilities that are appearing, that I see by using this now, are quite sometimes surprising. They're nuanced and surprising because of the depth of knowledge it has. It knows my family members and my friends very well in many ways. Communication can become easier, and the tools to build links are there to be used. Let's just start the animation again. And I'll stop the share and we can talk. We can do some questions. But this is just a simple click, shows you the build. I'll try and understand what's going on here at first. But as you can see, the brain as the way it was built. The orphans, the journal entries are the blue-gray dots, and they start to appear just unconnected, obviously. But then the connections or the nodes come from the places. So those middle gray areas are the places, as the nodes are connected by them. As we work through the build, chunks of things will become apparent as my work in the entries started. And then at a certain point along the way, you'll see it as they appear, the AI will say, oh, this is all that, or I'll do a scan of 30 pages or something, and it'll suddenly say, I won't say this, but it'll see a node come together, and boom, it's all classified that way. So as you can see, the light pinks are people associated with it. So that's someone named in my journals or a place in my journals. And at a certain point, you'll see my published items come in, and also recipes and events, career events. So as you can see, the orphans aren't the orphans are disappearing here in so many ways because they're being connected to the nodes. There you go. A big chunk just came in there too. At one point, my published works come in as kind of, yeah, there. See that node at the bottom, the bright green. Also, I think it's important to note that I am using multiple tools here, and frequently I will go out to Perplexity and do some searching in terms of checking in with people or places or qualifying events in my life that were murky. I mean, no one has a perfect memory, as you can imagine. So there were times where I would qualify where I was at that place or qualify at that time. All right, folks. I'm going to stop the share now. I'm happy to take any questions, and I'm happy to help anyone kind of conceptualize their second brain from the start. I think before you jump in with this, you would have to kind of say to yourself, what is the purpose or what I want to get out of this? But also, it's important to say, what is in my digital archives that I can start with? Starting fresh is, of course, perfectly capable too, but then the idea, the structure, the importance of structure comes in. The amount of data you're bringing in, the quality of the data is important, and also as I've shown you in the demo, it can be old paper faxes, paper forms. It doesn't have to be all digital. Of course, if it is, that speeds things up intensely. I had I think just under a terabyte of files to analyze, and Claude Code did that for me in about 2.5 hours one morning, where we went through all copies of archives saying clean me up, and there's 6 multiple copies of things too. So keeping your data structured is important, and keeping the import structured is important. But again, using Claude Code and using Codex in an interview kind of setting, rather than a full-on like sit down and build the whole thing at once, is the right strategy that I would recommend. Okay.
That was so awesome. I have to say, it was very cool. There's a lot of comments in the chat and questions. Do you want to turn on the mic so people can just jump on, or do you want to just read them off the chat?
Anyway, if people want to talk, let's talk. I'm happy to be interactive. It's Human and AI Week. Let's have a human voice.
All right, so I have turned on the ask a question mic. Whoever wants to come on stage, just hit that button and we should be able to hear you. There you go. We got somebody.
Hi, Stephen. It's Lisette.
Hi, Lizette.
Hello. I found your whole presentation absolutely fascinating. So I have been using ChatGPT for quite a while now for my work, and I have been in product development mode. I've been writing a book. I've been doing different things, and taking research, and then I've been also using it for research, but also using it to help me see patterns in previous work that I've done. All that ChatGPT work is really valuable to me. Is there a way to put that into something like this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you using Codex or Claude Code at all? Or
No.
I think so, and I'm coming up to Toronto to do a presentation next week at TMU, and I don't know. Lizette, you know me. I'm kind of I don't want to say shit disturber, but I was like, okay, people, it's time to lean in now. Okay. So, and I mean, Lizette, it's time to get you set up with a dedicated agentic kind of setup. So,
Yeah.
meaning set up a folder, a dedicated folder that you're going to share with an AI.
Yeah.
So Codex is Claude Code for ChatGPT,
Okay.
and Claude Code is Claude Code for Claude. So it is they in many ways they're coding platforms, but people like me are using them for non-coding purposes more and more and more, and it's extremely powerful. Lizette, It can write files, save files, alter your machine. The trouble is, or the learning curve is, there's tons of plugins and connectors that you need to enable to get that running. And a big but. If you're using ChatGPT, it's a natural progression in my mind to start using Codex. Codex is a desktop app for Mac or Windows, and you can
Yeah.
actually then bring in all you can save your memories or your work in ChatGPT and set it up in Codex.
Cool. Okay. All
And
right.
also that switch it, be upfront with it. I have these are my personal tasks. These are my
Yeah.
professional tasks. This is my writing. This is my project with X. And
Yeah.
it'll set up. And what's beautiful is I'm a bit of an anal retentive when it comes to file structures and directories. The beautiful thing that a lot of people don't tell you about these systems is they keep track of all the files and the directories and the naming and the file names. Like I've become a little lazy in that regard because I'm trusting of it and it's doing a great job for me. So I recommend it highly.
Cool. Okay, I will do that. I have all kinds of folders within my chat GPT, of course. So I've been sort of very organized with my chats and I've learned to do that, but this is very helpful. I will definitely check out CodexEC.
Well, and then you can just point Codex at your file structure, share
Yeah.
it, back it up, point it at it, parse it, and say, learn this. This is what you'll be, Lizette, you'll be stunned at the capabilities right out of the gate.
I'm super stoked and I want to see you when you come to Toronto. Okay, bye.
Nice to hear from you.
How do I get out of the microphone? I don't know.
To be honest with you, Rome confuses me. There you go.
I could take you off.
There
Thanks
you
for
go.
jumping on.
Abraham is in charge. We have we have another question? I'm happy to look, there are no dumb questions either. Like, you know what I mean?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm Anne-Marie Brinsmead from Toronto Met University.
Hi.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, Stefan. I put a note in the chat if you don't mind reading it out.
Abraham, can you read it for me? I don't even know where the chat is.
Sorry, you wanted the question in the chat?
Yeah, I've put a comment and an item for Stefan to respond to.
Yep,
in the chat.
This is a human leading the second Obsidian brain, expands the human consciousness. Very impressive. Any private security sector companies doing the same here, or finance, or I think for their bigger data?
I do not know. This entire second brain kind of thing, in many ways, it's a rage on TikTok. In many ways, couple of things to note. There are different platforms. There's in my slide there were a couple of other platforms. There's one called Jarvis. There's one called Nurek. I do think, to answer your question though, in a corporate banking or other kind of environment, this stuff would be internally engineered and structured.
Exactly.
The mechanism, the context building mechanism of the second brain is not new per se, but no one would do this in a banking system without.
Exactly. It'd be customized, lockdown, data privacy, security galore.
Yes,
but
it
yeah.
certainly wouldn't have signed faxes from the 90s in it, but go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize something else, is that what you said, and everybody he said this is really important, is that the connection of the Claude entity that he named and Codex is super important. He's one of the most innovative lead thinkers out there on that, because you'd be surprised. Alphabet, Meta, Apple, they're all slow to that, and it's only just coming through bits and pieces, like a little secret in the news, ecosystem. So this is terribly important. Thank you so much. Brilliant.
I'll see you next week.
Yes.
I think that's why I'm excited to share this with, and when I talk to Abraham about it, it's not. Look, I'm not a stupid person, but I'm not a genius here. I just there are many people doing this with different rationales. For example, I taught marketing and developed marketing materials for a long time. The ability for a brand or an influencer or a large brand, a small brand, to, bring in their combined knowledge of like creative assets that worked or didn't, or the versions of an ad we did, or the 6 localizations we did of a digital signage ad in like 5 languages, and to have a second brain kind of keep all that stitched together with the learnings is profoundly advancing, like in my mind. Like the ability for a clever marketing group to use this sort of setup so that we're not, wait, we did that ad 3 years ago for MasterCard and they had this copy or this direct mail. Like, marketing is very complex now, digital marketing, when you add all the vectors in. If you put all that in a second brain where someone can sit down and say, okay, well, how does this and this and this work? This sort of context building AI empowerment, God, I sound like so jargony, but is profoundly transformative in terms of jobs or professional work, I would think.
Yeah. I'd say the same for startups too.
Yeah,
for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, if so many startups, the last thing they get to, sadly, is the marketing, and then it's like, well, we'll hire, Bob's kid to do it, and it's like, I mean, I get it, it's okay, and it's a great idea, but if you have data to work with, structured data and primary database, like, to be fair, now, primary data for big brands to be able to use this sort of brain is again transformative.
Yeah. Allison, I'm trying to get you up on stage, but you're welcome to. In the meantime, I think Paula's up here. Paula, do you have a question for us?
Hi, Stephen. I hope you can hear me.
How are you?
Good. I have a question more so from a creative standpoint, because recognizing there's huge debate between AI and kind of using it as a creative tool. And I have to admit, I sit in the middle just due to the fact that I'm in a space where digitally it's become pivotal, but personally, do you know what I mean? It's like, how do you kind of come to terms with that kind of middle point of how to use it? Do you know what I mean? And well, I'm not opposed to it at all. I think it's phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? Just how it's growing as a tool. But was curious because what I loved is this culmination and brain that you've created, as you shared. And if you've seen that used more from a creative standpoint, because that's kind of my interest of like that culmination, same sort of thing, like CV work, that sort of thing, but also really loved the share that you gave of that it can see pattern too, which I think artistically could be used, do you know what I mean, quite cleverly, depending on what that looks like or how you draw that out. So I was just curious, yeah.
Paula, it's I mean, yes, there's a lot of anxiety and doom scrolling about AI, but let me there's one story that jumps to mind, then I'll give you an answer. I don't know whether you caught this, but this something important happened a couple of weeks ago. I wish I could remember the link to it. There was a Japanese artist who put up a picture of a real Monet painting. And he said he had just created it in AI.
Oh.
And thousands of comments gushed onto his X account. Oh, it's slop. It's absolute. Oh, I could spot this a mile away. This is terrible. AI is ruining the creative brand. And it was a real Monet.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it. Because we're at a point now where no one knows what's real and what's not. And I get it. But if you reverse, I'm kind of a contrarian. That means we are now, and part of this is human AI. This makes being a human even more important now. Like, what is it to be a human now? And to answer your question about creativity, I think it rolls all the way back that this is an important time for the creative arts. My favorite line lately, and Alice and some of my friends have repeated it, is we're living through the age of the revenge of the liberal arts majors, where I do think, and then there's Allison, I actually do think that this puts an even more higher price on true human creativity. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Paul, I'll answer your question about patterns. Don't AI parsing and image parsing and the whole thing with 5 fingers when a year ago when AI was trying to generate human images. We're still at a point where I don't think AI image generation can be considered art, but
Yeah.
it depends on what that means. But I would, for you, knowing you, I would use it for just pattern recognition, like you said. Show it 10 JPEGs and see what it comes up. See what Claude Codes thinks about it.
Amazing. Thank you.
Certainly.
I may need to be removed too from the.
I got you. Don't worry.
No
Thank-
worries. Anyone else?
Yes. Okay.
There we
Can
go.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Hi, Stephen. It's Allison in Toronto. I
Allison?
sure hope I hope I remember my question. There's been so many good ones. I want to first say thank you for that amazing presentation. Seeing the growth of the networks based on your life was, I think, the first concrete example that helped me understand Jeffrey Hinton's contribution to AI and the whole neural network comparison. But my question is going back to the liberal arts grads. I want to just basically understand something you started to talk about with Lisette, and that was the reason that you chose, even though you're not going in there for coding, why you chose Claude Code as opposed to using Claude's cowork to build this and upload your files. Like maybe you can that's kind of a basic question, but maybe you can help us understand the difference.
No, it's a pretty simple, straightforward answer. Claude Code is extremely adept in file management, opening, writing, sales, organizing files. And the actual mechanical aspects of building the second brain in Obsidian are kind of file intensive at a certain level. Do you see what I mean? So using an interim solution, like, so there's Claude, there's Cowork, and then there's Claude Code. Claude Code is intimidating because it's really command line interface in many ways, and I have been using that as well. But the ability to look in directories, analyze directories. Like I built a whole folder full of scanning. Like, when I would scan, I would just mindlessly scan. And, Claude Code will open up the raw scan, analyze its input, turn it into a PDF, pull out the text, save the image, and then write 2 files and move the scan into a processed scan. Like it did that all on its own and better than I would, and with file naming. So to answer your question, Allison, it's kind of like just the simple horsepower of being able to move files around and create files. And Codex is the exact same on the ChatGPT side. So I will tell you, everyone, that and maybe it's schizophrenia in a strange world, but I have them working together, and I wrote very, very stern guidelines for them to work together. Like I said to both of them, Claude Code and Codex, no destructive action. You work together. It's called gated. I gate approve these things. So, and they behaved well together. At this point, they actually do save. They will update each other as we work.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, Allison.
All right. I think we just have like 1 minute left, but we have someone on stage. And then Megan, if you want to type in your question in the chat, we might be able to get to both of those. Oh, Alexis also had a type of prompt you would use for Claude Code or something
Sorry?
like. Alexis also asked, what type of prompt would you use for Claude Code or something?
I would set up an interview with Claude Code. Do not just actually say that when you're setting up Claude Code. Do not like have an interview with it. Say, I want to use Claude Code for this, this, and this, and like not force it. But when I set up Claude Code, I had an interview about my personal projects, my work in education, and then my work at the chapter. And I had separate interview sections with Claude Code, and then it went off and built my working directories. So don't just jump in without a like, let's work together.
Yeah. All right. We have Sumesh is on stage. And then Megan, if you could type in your chat, that'd be a lot.
Thanks for coming, folks, too. I really appreciate the chance to present.
Megan, do you want to come on stage then? Sumesh, you have the mic.
Anyone? I see someone with a mic.
Yeah.
No worries.
Hold on one second. Let me see.
There's Megan. Hi,
Can I
Megan.
ask a last question? Can I ask a last question, Stephen
Sure.
and Abram?
Yeah, you have to come.
It's in the chat. This has happened a lot throughout tech history, particularly since the advent of the internet and beyond. PC is that Obsidian's free now, but it could be bought out, and then often the tech company that buys it, a big one, will gut it so it doesn't compete with another tool like Obsidian that they already have. What's going to happen to all your content?
It's that's a very good question, and I had that thought myself. The actual Obsidian files are in a vault, and they're all markdown files, and they're .md files, and many applications can open and save to that format. So I'm not worried about Obsidian at all in that regard, and I don't think anyone should be at this point. Abraham, you're on mute. I can't hear anyone. I can't hear anyone for some reason.
Did that work?
I'm trying to get. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Okay.
This would be the
Okay.
last question.
Okay, thank you so much. Wow, what an amazing presentation. You're literally creating and doing what I've been trying to circle around, and I'm coming at it from the lens of someone that has a brain injury. So the idea of having an external brain, like I just want to cry because it creates access to memory, to
Sure.
to life that I don't have access to. And I've been doing voice memos and recording things for 4 years, but it's all
Wow.
been stuck because I can't label it all and I
Sure.
don't know how to organize it. But now it sounds like I did the hardest part, and there's actually technology that can help me
Yes.
tell my story and create it together.
Yes. Let me connect with me. Look, my email is steven.gigliotti@gmail. I'd love to help you out.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Send me an email and we'll have a conversation about it.
Okay, great.
That's a beautiful way to help.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. And Sumesh had mic issues. His last question was, what will be the fastest way to get started with Second Brain without getting lost in configurations and getting this up and running? And it sounds like having the interview, file management,
Yeah.
like foundational.
And you really, there's no way to do it without either Claude Code or Codex. I mean, technically, I think you could probably work around it, but you won't be able to actually build the brain. The Karpathy post on GitHub started this whole phenomenon, and people were saying, oh, it's another way to build a RAG system without building a RAG system, which is technically what this was kind of modeled on. But RAG requires, engineers and like $60,000 to get started. So this is me spending $7 on Obsidian for a cloud share. Also, take the time to set up your file structures or the right way out of the gate. Like for example, all my files are shared in iCloud because I work at different computers and the system, so that I don't want to, you work here, you work there. So figure out the technical requirements, but you'll need Claude Code and Obsidian to get started.
All right.
Okay.
I'm really inspired. My weekend is now going to be taken over. So thanks for that.
And I am not going to be doing that this weekend because I did plenty of it too. Thank you everyone for showing up.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. You all get the recording after this as well.
Wonderful.
Take care, all. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye. Okay.